Please pray with me. May these words that I speak be grounded in my soul, encouraged by the God presence in me. And may these words that you hear be captured by your soul, enlivened by the God presence in you. Amen. I want to begin this morning by sharing a true story about forgiveness. This is told by a son whose mother was very near death, and he tells this story. She was lingering on the threshold, and for several days she had been talking about a mesh that she couldn't get through. I was sitting by her bed telling her how much I would miss her. She said she wanted to hear that from my father, whom we always called Daddy. Of course, Daddy had been telling her that for weeks. So Daddy came over and effusively told her, "Oh, I'm going to miss you." She replied, "I don't believe it." I couldn't believe my ears. I said, "Mother, you're a few hours from death. You can't say that." She persisted, "I don't believe it." Daddy redoubled his efforts. "I ask your forgiveness for all the times I've hurt you in our 54 years of marriage, and I forgive you for all the times you've hurt me." I said, "Mother, isn't that beautiful? Now say that to Daddy." And suddenly she clammed up. She didn't want to say it. I said, "Mother, do you want to leave this life without forgiving everybody?" She said, "I forgive everybody." I said, "But do you forgive Daddy?" She became silent again. Then Daddy jumped in and said, "Honey, I never fooled around with any other women." We all knew that. She even said, "Well, I know that. My siblings and I still don't know how Daddy had hurt Mother. But any married person knows there are many little ways a couple can hurt one another over 54 years. Then I said, "Mother, let's try this. Put one hand on your heart, and I'm going to pray that your heart gets real soft." I placed one of my hands on hers, over her heart, and I held her other hand and started kissing it. After about a minute, she said very faintly, "That melts me." "What?" "When you kiss my hand like that, now I've got to do it." After a pause, she continued, "I'm a stubborn woman. All of my life I've been a stubborn woman." So she looked over, and she didn't call him Daddy as she usually did. She spoke to him by name. "Rich, I forgive you." I prompted her again, "Mother, the other half, I ask for forgiveness." She started breathing heavily and rapidly. Then she summoned her energy and said, "Rich, I ask your forgiveness." A few more moments of labored breathing, and she said, "That's it. That's it. That's what I had to do." I said to her, "Mother, do you think that was the mesh?" She replied, "It's gone. The mesh is gone. And God, I pray that I mean this forgiveness from my heart." Mother was so happy then, and fully ready for her coming death. It's a beautiful story, but you may be wondering what that has to do with being at one with the universe. And hopefully this reflection will bring some light to that. For me, forgiveness is one of the ways that we discover and embrace our connectedness to all of life. It is recognizing the power of forgiveness to heal ourselves, to heal another, and in a way to heal all of creation. It is realizing that forgiveness is imperative in helping us understand that we are not separate from each other, and that we are intimately and indivisibly connected. And if that's not reason enough, how about this? When Jesus is asked about forgiveness, he says, forgive not 7 times, but 70 times 7 times. That's a lot of forgiveness. Richard Rohr writes, Jesus is never upset at sinners. He is only upset with people who do not think they are sinners. Jesus was fully at home with the tragic sense of life. He lived and died inside it. Jesus' ability to find a higher order inside constant disorder is the very heart of his message, and why true gospel still heals and renews all that it touches. Jesus understood the power of forgiveness. His last words as he found himself nailed, bleeding, and dying on that cross were, "Forgive them," because he already had. And as the passage from Stephanie Dowrick's book that Joan read this morning said, forgiveness is an act of love, and love is the foundation of all life. Forgiveness has the power to heal ourselves, each other, all life. Choosing not to forgive both ourselves and others becomes life-taking. And I'm sure you, like me, have all experienced how resistance to forgiving hurts and harms. Jesus knew that a lack of forgiveness was corrosive to the soul. Refusing to forgive is not only corrosive to the soul of the one needing forgiveness, it is also corrosive to the soul of the one who will not forgive. Jesus is calling us to a higher order. When we refuse to forgive or do so half-heartedly, we diminish our own life, our own well-being. Every time I hold a hurt or a grudge, it affects my health 1,000 times more than it does the health of the one who hurt. And the same is true if I'm unwilling to seek forgiveness from another that I have injured, or if I am unwilling or unable to forgive myself as well. The very Reverend Peter Short, former moderator of the United Church, says, and I love this, forgiveness is a muscle that finds its strength in practice. He also says that forgiveness does not come easy because forgiveness is an art that must be learned and developed. And so he writes, our world is full of imperfection, families, friends, congregations, and drivers. It's a landscape, the way it is. Forgiveness is learning how to live in the world, looking for moments of gratitude and blessedness. Forgiveness doesn't change the world to Camelot. It is more humble than that. But forgiveness lived daily becomes a path, a way in life to life. It is clear to me that Peter sees forgiveness as Jesus did, a healing pathway which continually restores meaning to our lives and reconnects us to our own deeper, truer self, to each other, and to all of creation. The practice of forgiveness is a concrete way to grow our awareness of the interconnectedness of all things, truly making us at one with the universe. At the same time, forgiveness is not something you can do and be done with. I think this is where the phrase forgive and forget derives from. And frankly, I think it's wrong. This suggests that the injury is erased. But it is not about forgetting. Rather, I believe real forgiveness is about being able to forgive every time that injury comes to mind until it is finally softened, finally healed. As Dowrick said in the reading, anger gives way to sorrow or regret. Rage flattens into sadness. This means having to forgive and forgive and forgive and forgive 70 times 7. That is the practice, the art, until it becomes a habit of the heart. And now another story, one that demonstrates the amazing power of forgiveness.
We end tonight with one of the most potent powers on earth. It can change lives in an instant. Everyone has it. It's the power to forgive. Watch it now in action in Steve Hartman's Assignment America.
Thank you, Lord.
In a small apartment building in North Minneapolis, a 59-year-old teacher's aide sings praise to God for no seemingly apparent reason. Indeed, if anyone was to have issues with the Lord, it would be Mary Johnson.
For all you've done for me. He never had a chance.
In February 1993, Mary's son, Loramian Bird, was shot to death during an argument at a party. He was 20 and Mary's only child.
My son was gone.
The killer was a 16-year-old kid named O'Shea Israel.
I wanted justice. He was an animal. He deserved to be caged.
And he was. Tried as an adult and sentenced to 25 and a half years, O'Shea served 17 before being recently released. He now lives back in the old neighborhood, close to Mary. This close.
He lives next door.
Next door.
How a convicted murderer ended up living a door jam away from his victim's mother is a story not of horrible misfortune, as you might expect, but of remarkable mercy.
A few years ago, Mary asked if she could meet O'Shea here at Minnesota's Stillwater State Prison. As a devout Christian, she felt compelled to see if there was some way, if somehow she could forgive her son's killer.
What'd she say to you? I believe the first thing she said was, look, you don't know me, I don't know you, let's just start with right now. And I was befuddled myself.
O'Shea says they met regularly after that. When he got out, she introduced him to her landlord, who, with Mary's blessing, invited O'Shea to move into the building. Today, they don't just live close, they are close. Clearly, Mary was able to forgive.
Unforgiveness is like cancer. It will eat you from the inside out. It's not about that other person. Me forgiving him does not diminish what he's done. Yes, he murdered my son, but the forgiveness is for me. It's for me.
For O'Shea, it hasn't been that easy.
I haven't totally forgiven myself yet. I'm learning how to forgive myself. And I'm still growing towards, trying to forgive myself and what it is I've done.
To that end, O'Shea is now busy proving himself to himself. He works at a recycling plant by day and goes to college by night. He says he's determined to pay back Mary's clemency by contributing to society. In fact, he's already working on it, singing the praises of God and forgiveness at prisons, churches, to large audiences everywhere.
Forgiveness is a powerful thing.
Yes, I'm grateful.
Which explains why Mary can sing her praise of thanks to her audience of one. Steve Hartman, CBS News, Minneapolis.
For all you've done for me.
The amazing power of forgiveness to change lives, to change our world. Jesus knew in his heart that great love takes both courage and humility. He knew what it meant to be at one with the universe. May we know the necessity to discover this too, and start right now. Let's not wait till we're about to give our last breath. One way to practice at oneness is to be willing within ourselves, with every other, and with the entire world to forgive.